What's up, everybody? What is going on? This is Fred Rachani of TSC News. I have right here on the line my main man, Scott Anderson, and we're here to talk all the latest in WWE, as well as a little bit of TNA and Lucha Underground and Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. But ironically enough, those promotions all relate to what's going on with WWE and specifically WWE NXT. And Scott, the other night you texted me and you said, did you see this WrestleMania weekend card for NXT? It's gonna blow Mania away. And I thought, you know what, Scott, chill out, bro. You're just exaggerating. You're using hyperbole. I mean, okay, maybe Nakamura's gonna make an appearance. Okay, they'll do Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe again. And I thought, you know what, that's probably gonna be a hell of a match, maybe the best match of the weekend. But the card from top to bottom, I don't know about that. Boy, was I ever wrong. Scott, do you want to tell people, mild spoiler alert, Scott, do you want to tell people what this WrestleMania weekend NXT TakeOver Dallas card has in store for all of us?
You know, I know what you want me to get to, Fred, but I think we're going to make the people wait just a little bit longer for that. But it should, without spoiling too much of it, we're going to have a rematch for the NXT title from TakeOver London. And okay, now I'll give you the big story. It was announced at the tapings last night that Sami Zayn, yes, Sami Zayn, will wrestle Nakamura in his WWE/NXT debut at NXT TakeOver Dallas WrestleMania week. So if that doesn't get your juices flowing as a wrestling fan, nothing will.
And on top of that, you got Bayley versus Asuka, who's probably one of the best workers in the company. By far one of the best female workers in the world. Maybe one of the better workers in the world right now, given what she's shown in NXT, working with the likes of, no disrespect to the girls she's worked with, but let's just say that the skill level, the skill disparity is quite great.
Well,
that's
Emma's
gonna be awesome.
Bad. I'll give Emma her credit.
Oh no, Emma's great.
Dana Brooke, is still kind of new to the whole thing, but Yeah,
no, of course.
Bad,
of course. No, Emma's great, but I'm talking about some of the other girls that she's worked with. Yeah, now we have the NXT champions, the tag team champions, Dash and Dawson, taking on Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. That, I think, is actually going to be a hell of a match. Maybe the sleeper match. That is going to be sick. American Alpha, as they're now known. I think they'll eventually win the tag titles, perhaps, at that show. They should win them at that show, although I'd like to see them on the main roster immediately. Apollo Crews is going to take on Elias Sampson, which should be a nice showcase match for Apollo Crews. I don't expect really much from Sampson. And one of my personal favorites, Austin Aries, is taking on Baron Corbin, and which should be one hell of a wacky matchup. And I could definitely see Austin Aries getting Baron Corbin up for that brainbuster. Whether or not he hits it, whether or not he's allowed to hit it, because I can't recall the last time I've seen a brainbuster in WWE. That remains to be seen. But from top to bottom, there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4 matches that have the potential of being great. Perhaps Austin Aries can, and Baron Corbin's gotten better, but perhaps Austin Aries can help Baron Corbin step up his game even more than he has already. And then Apollo Crews, Elias Sampson, hey, maybe Sampson will show something. So, yeah, I'm excited. I don't know about you, man, but I'm pumped. I'm more pumped than this WrestleMania card, or lack thereof, that we have right now.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some backstage grumblings going on, I think, because this NXT card is stacked, and I don't know what WrestleMania has in store for us, but honestly, I just can't see it matching up. I really can. You'll have, the Triple Threat Divas match probably, which will be damn good.
Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha is what you're referring to.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yep. No,
although, you know what? I think they're actually building up for that to take place at Fastlane.
So do I, yeah.
And unfortunately, that seems to leave poor Becky Lynch, the odd woman out, despite being the best worker out of the three, arguably. At least in the ring, in terms of in the ring. And, it looks like they're probably building to Charlotte versus Sasha in a rematch from NXT San Jose last year, over last year's WrestleMania weekend.
That's correct, yes.
It looks to be Roman Reigns versus Triple H for the world title.
Yeah. Brock Lesnar possibly versus Braun Strowman or Luke Harper, okay, but again...
You know what? I would actually rather see Braun Strowman take on Brock Lesnar than Brock Lesnar versus Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is a hell of a better worker than Braun Strowman times like 100, and Bray's significantly better on the mic, But just the idea of seeing Brock Lesnar trying to throw around and no sell for a guy as big and as unmechanical as you know, I mean, he's essentially a mannequin. They should call him Mannequin Strowman. Can you imagine Brock Lesnar tossing him around and be awesome? Like, if there were botches, it'd make the match even better.
See, I don't know about that. Would it? You know what I mean? Or would it hurt Brock in the
listen,
I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. You can't really hurt Brock in the long run.
If Braun F's up, Brock could just close on him.
Oh, my God.
He could just suplex him.
Well, there was kind of that cryptic tweet that Paul Heyman put out. I don't know if you saw it with
I didn't.
Lesnar and the running knees. And he said, if you think that was something, you haven't, begun to see anything yet. So, or something to that effect. The arsenal is only, yeah.
Right, but I just don't see a feud with Bray Wyatt doing anything for Brock Lesnar. And honestly, I don't really see it doing anything for Bray Wyatt. Perhaps for his bank account, but I don't really see it doing anything for him. I mean, to go 0-3 at WrestleMania, it's kind of hilarious. If you're like a younger fan, or if you're a fan that 10 years from now looks back on Bray Wyatt's career and you look at his WrestleMania record and you see that he wrestled John Cena and Undertaker and now Brock Lesnar, you think, man, this Bray Wyatt guy was a pretty big deal. But it's not the case.
He was putting all the younger talent over, huh?
Yeah, exactly. He's the jobber to the young Jonathan Cena. He is the
prototype.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of John Cena, real quick, me and my wife watched the movie Sisters that he was in last night, and he's actually not too bad in that, all things considered. So
no, he's not a terrible actor. At times he can be a little wooden, like he was wooden in The Marine, but that was like over 10 years ago. And that was actually one of the more successful WWE films still to this day. So you can't really say much about him. Plus, in Trainwreck, he had a breakout performance. So I think sky's the limit for him if he wants to pursue Hollywood. I think there'd be options for him.
Yeah, and again, I know I don't want to get off on the ramble, but I was flipping through my channels earlier, and I can't remember the name of the movie. It came out in 2010, but it starred Rob Van Dam and Dave Bautista.
Oh, is it The Other Side of Town?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. It was just ending as I was flipping through. I think I just got home from work or something, but oh boy. Well,
yeah.
At least, on the good side, wrestling is taking over movies, I guess you could say. So.
Yeah, and this week in WWE was pretty exciting. I have to say, while you and I both agreed that the Royal Rumble finish was kind of weak and that the match itself was kind of overrated, well, you know what? I'm not even gonna say that because you know what? Matches are subjective. You know what I mean? If you thought the Royal Rumble match was great, then, God bless you. I thought it was pretty good. I just didn't like the ending. But I was listening to Lance Storm's podcast with Brian Alvarez today. And Lance Storm, who's been a guest on the show, is a really smart guy. Trained some of the the better talent out there. Like, who did he train? He trained, is her name Taya Valkyrie in Lucha Underground? I think it's her name. In AAA. He trained Tyler Breeze. He trained Dolph Ziggler. Number of other people, Sylvester Lafort, Emma. I think did he train Billy Kay? I know he trained Peyton Royce. I don't know if he trained Billy Kay as well. But he's trained a ton of people that have been in NXT and are currently in NXT right now. So he's a really smart guy, one of the more well-respected observers of pro wrestling and one of the most respected trainers. And he had a great point about the Royal Rumble. And he said that he enjoyed it for the most part. But he actually didn't necessarily seem to have a problem with Triple H winning the way he did, and he actually put the blame on the finish, maybe not getting over with a lot of fans, on the announcers. And I thought that was actually pretty brilliant because he said this: when Triple H eliminated Dean Ambrose, it makes sense that Triple H was able to eliminate Dean Ambrose like that because Dean Ambrose was just in a ridiculous war with Kevin Owens earlier in the night. And here's Triple H coming out unannounced at number 30, fresh as can be, eliminates Dean Ambrose. Roman Reigns was attacked by the League of Nations, had been in the match essentially, or, sort of in the match for the better part of 50 minutes. Here's Triple H going to screw Roman Reigns. The fresh man in, eliminates him, screws Roman Reigns. Like, there's a story to tell there. And I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Like, if Morrow or Jim Ross were on commentary, they probably would have told that story. They would have said, yeah, you know what? Triple H did win, but that son of a bitch entered number 30, surprised everybody. Roman Reigns lost thanks to Vince McMahon in the League of Nations. Dean Ambrose went through a war. It's amazing he's even still standing. And I just thought about that. I'm like, man, Like you know what I mean? Like, and that's why I really like SmackDown lately. Like, I think Morrow's done a really good job, and I'm really excited.
He makes it entertaining.
Yes, and I'm really excited to see Jim Ross. I mean, Jim Ross, you know, with New Japan Pro Wrestling, I think he's really going to bring a lot of credibility. Not that Morrow didn't, of course he did, but I feel like, you know, with Jim Ross, especially for people that grew up on him like you and me, I mean, it's going to be awesome to hear his voice once again with Josh Barnett. And I'm just thinking, man, like, you know, Lance is right. Like if the announcers told that story, or if they at least had like somebody in their ear with the knowledge of like a Morrow or you know, a Jim Ross or a Pat Patterson like producing them, as opposed to, or I don't know, just throw out a name, as opposed to Vince McMahon, who micromanages every single thing and tries to get over Twitter and this and that and the other thing. You know, maybe it would have been more effective finish. Instead, that story wasn't told, and to a lot of people it was, oh, Triple H, the quote-unquote real star from the real era of stars, the Attitude Era, eliminated these two guys. And he was a hero and came off a badass as opposed to a chicken crap heel. And now he's a champion, and we have to have sympathy for Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. Although, you know what? I think Dean Ambrose will still get some sympathy because he just has that connection with the crowd. I don't think a lot of guys have. Whereas Roman Reigns, he certainly has his fans. But they haven't done him any favors, dude. And they booked him on Monday Night Raw to face Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose at Fastlane. And the winner advances to the main event of WrestleMania to take on, Triple H for the world title. Okay. Tell me how it makes sense that they screw Roman Reigns. They screw Roman Reigns so badly. They want the title off him so badly that they do him a favor and put him in the main event of the next pay-per-view with his best friend, and the winner will take on Triple H for the title. How does that make any sense?
Well, forget making sense. You want to build up Roman Reigns as your top babyface, and yet you're putting him in there with arguably the two most over people in the company right now. So Roman Reigns is the heel in that match. Even though Ambrose will probably have the heel tendencies and Lesnar's just Lesnar, you know, he'll do whatever he wants. You know, Reigns is going to be the one getting booed every single time he does something. So it's not going to end well, no matter how you finish it. You know what I mean?
Right, I agree. And the whole premise of Raw was we'll put, you know, 2 people or 3 people or however many people in the main event of Fastlane to have an opportunity to earn a title shot. Whoever has the most impressive performance. So AJ Styles beating Chris Jericho, well, it wasn't impressive. So Kalisto, you know, making quick work. Who did he wrestle? Would he wrestle The Miz?
Did he? God, I don't even remember.
I don't even remember who the hell he wrestled.
I don't even remember him on Raw, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, whatever. He won. All I remember is he won his match. You know, it was a long show. Right. You mean why isn't he in the main event? Like, why Roman Reigns?
Well, it's storyline. But, you know, real quick though, getting back to what you said about the announcing, Michael Cole is a very good announcer. However, he doesn't know how to have that shock and awe moment, so to speak. You know, his line is the simple "Oh my God" or whatever it is. Where, you know, Jim Ross had that connection
yeah, he had that raw emotion. But you know what? Jim Ross also had the balls to go up against Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn and kind of, you know, I don't want to say go into business for himself per se, but kind of, you know, just go off script, you know, on occasion, just kind of be himself. Whereas, whereas these guys are so overproduced, it's to the point where it's like, you know what? I don't want to cross the boss. I'll just do my job. I'll do what I'm told. In the case of JBL, I mean, I've never seen an announcer go from being so awesome like JBL a few years ago, and even when he first started back in 2006, to a guy that's just grating. It's like I can't stand him. I mean, Byron Saxton's just bland. JBL is just the king of bad cliches. Like, I'd almost rather have Booker T back, because at least Booker T was funny.
You know, this is like one of the first times I really caught SmackDown, and heel Jerry Lawler isn't even that heelish.
Yeah,
like, it's so, you know, you can tell every line is being fed to him, and you know, I know we're a few weeks away from Mania, but I hope they do something with the announce team, because no disrespect to Michael Cole, but you can't have him call that main event.
You can have him there, but you can't
have him call that main event and Roman Reigns presumably winning the title. And he's been the voice. Storyline up. You just can't do it.
He's been the voice for a very long time, so I don't necessarily mind Michael Cole. I've kind of learned to tune him out in certain points where it gets like overproduced. But I mean, if they do like Michael Cole Jerry Lawler, Mauro Ranallo, I think that's fine. I think that's a fine team. But if they have the Raw announced team for 4 hours, actually 5 hours if you count the pre-show.
I can't see Mauro and Michael Cole doing it together though.
I mean, look, Mauro's been on 3-man announced teams before. I mean, he's been on teams at Strikeforce, and you can make the strong argument you really don't need 3-man announced teams unless maybe it's a guest commentator for the main event. So he's done all right, and he worked with Gus Johnson, who is a really good commentator, but wasn't the greatest when it comes to MMA. Although Gus Johnson's got a tremendous voice, and he made it work. He made it work. So I think he could certainly make it work with with Michael Cole. But yeah, it is going to be a bit of an uphill battle.
It will be interesting. That's one way to look at it for sure.
Well, before we get to the rest of our WrestleMania predictions and just kind of talking about what's going on, let's talk SmackDown real quick.
Let's do that.
Okay, this show was okay. SmackDown surprisingly has been doing pretty well in the ratings, thanks to the USA Network move. I don't know if the improvement in the announcing has really made that much of a difference, honestly. But since they've moved to USA Network, I don't think they've had one clean main event finish. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure everything's ended in DQ. Honestly, it almost kind of reminds me of freaking, WCW Thunder back in the day, where almost every match ended in a disqualification. SmackDown is nowhere near as bad as Thunder, kids. Or actually adults, because I don't think any kids would really know about WCW Thunder.
Yeah, kids wouldn't know what you're talking about with Thunder. You realize WCW has been going almost 16 years.
Yeah, actually that is true. We are dating ourselves now, man. Wow. Yeah. Well, if WCW Thunder's on the network, kids, don't watch it.
No, that's not true. Watch there's the first couple episodes, of course, were decent. And
then it went all downhill.
And unfortunately, they won't show it. But the one I was at in Philly, when the demon got stuck in his little demon thing, and they couldn't get him out for 15 minutes. But you don't see that on TV. But that was great.
Oh God.
Yeah. Well, personally, just go back and watch what was it, the Rise and Fall of WCW or anything where they talk about Thunder, and it was just simply nobody wanted to be on the show, and it showed.
Yeah.
Also, at least SmackDown, these guys give an effort.
Yeah, that's true. And at least SmackDown has decent lighting. I remember the lighting in Thunder was all weird. It was always like you were in Glacier's Lair.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it was the colors. It was like that blue and Glacier's Lair. That's
I was like, it's like you were in a smoke-filled arena or something. It was just darker, not as bright. But yeah, SmackDown was a decent show. AJ Styles finally used the Styles Clash. He beat Curtis Axel. Some people said to me, "Oh man, AJ's getting buried. He's facing Curtis Axel." Look, he beat him. It was a showcase match. Curtis Axel is actually a decent worker. You can make the argument he probably shouldn't have been there with AJ Styles that long, but
it had a good story behind it. AJ eliminated Axel, so Axel wanted revenge. So okay, that makes sense. It's better than him fighting Adam Rose for no reason.
Yeah,
and at least it did have a little bit of a story behind it.
Yeah, exactly. Axelmania and everything. We had the Usos, Titus O'Neil, and Dolph Ziggler beat the New Day and the Miz. This was okay. Nothing great.
Titus, it seemed like, at the end.
Yeah, I love how they just broke off the primetime players for no apparent reason, no storyline reason. Meanwhile, didn't Titus O'Neil team with somebody the other night?
Darren Young teamed with Damian Sandow.
Yeah, that's right.
Pre-show, yeah, just a random team. They weren't
no setup whatsoever,
together, but not together. They still work house shows together. But yet, yeah, like on Superstars, Darren Young will lose a match, Titus wins, and I get it. Titus does all his charity work, and he's a good pitchman for that. WWE, I won't see him as anything more, but
No, I'm fine with it.
I like Titus.
I like him too, but just give us a reason as to why he's no longer teaming with his best friend.
It just makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, they got the win, and Titus celebrated with some kids. # good guy Titus. I'm down with this. We had Kalisto beat Neville to retain the United States Championship. Fun match. The only thing I don't understand is that Neville had a title shot. They didn't do any kind of open challenge or any kind of setup. It would have been nice just to kind of have either an open challenge or at least have Neville win a match on Raw to set him up for Thursday night.
I think they could have even done something like Fastlane with those two. I mean, it could have worked.
They I'll say this: they definitely deserved more time.
Yeah.
I think they got 10 minutes, maybe less.
Yeah, and unfortunately it's a SmackDown match, so it's not going to have the same enthusiasm. Even though I know I said they still work on that show.
Yeah.
But it was a decent match. I mean, there was a little botch at the end, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, it was what it was,
Mm-hmm. We had Chris Jericho host the highlight reel, interviewed Ambrose, and talked about the triple threat match and everything. Wyatt's interrupted. Roman Reigns got involved as well. And we had our main event set up. Do they ever not set up a main event on SmackDown with some type of promo exchange? I mean, I know they've been doing this since the Teddy Long days, but at least Teddy Long had that cool interruption every time where he'd be like, hold on a minute, player. We're going to have ourselves a tag team match. It's going to be Randy Orton teaming up with Edge to take on Batista and The Undertaker.
It's a shame that the crowd never got into that, and they just could have done the whole thing for him, and it would have been great.
Maybe they will.
Every week it was the same thing.
Yeah, I think if Teddy Long was around with this millennial generation, he'd get over more. You know what? Just make him I love William Regal, but how about this? Promote William Regal to SmackDown and make Teddy Long the honorable GM of NXT.
No.
Come on.
I don't want to see Sami Zayn and Finn Balor in tag matches every week.
Hold on a minute, player.
Hold on, player.
Yeah. I would like to see Teddy Long kind of party it up with Enzo Amore,
That would actually be pretty good. Yeah, it's a shame they had to let Teddy Long go. I mean, I get it.
I'm sure he's doing all right.
Sure.
Yeah. But
you got to remember, he was a referee for a long time. And then
referee for a long time, manager for a long time. I think he was even a wrestler at one point.
WWE. And,
he had a long career.
He did.
We had Charlotte beat Natalya. This was just a nothing match.
No.
Poor Natalya. And I just watched the episode of Total Divas where Natalya felt left out of the Divas Revolution. And I almost forgot about this until actually going over my notes again. Do you remember the amazing match that Charlotte and Natalya had where Natalya carried Charlotte and put her over huge?
And NXT, one of the takeovers, right?
Yes. That was a beautiful match. Where they both cried, and Ric Flair was crying, and Bret Hart and Ric Flair who had a long-standing beef embraced. It was just like one of the most beautiful
That was the finals for the women's title, wasn't it?
Yeah, dude, yes. It was one of the most beautiful I know it's weird. I know it's weird to describe wrestling as beautiful, but if you look at it as art, that match was like a work of art. Yes. And look, Charlotte held her own to an extent, but Natalya really was the captain of that ship. And here we go. Here we are, a couple years later, and Natalya's just losing.
Not even a couple years, really.
Yeah.
It's a shame. You say that about Natalya, but at least she was on the show. Where was Paige? I mean,
yeah.
She came back. She's wrestling now. Where was she?
Yeah. Why are they randomly friends again? I think
they're on Total Divas together.
You know what? I think there's a real storyline here. Do you know what the storyline is?
I'm afraid to ask.
I think Paige is trying to turn more times in her career by the time she's 30 than the Big Show.
Or Jericho even.
Yeah. Jericho's turned a lot too, but nowhere near as much as the Big Show.
There was somebody else though. It might have been in TNA. I was thinking of who's done it a lot. I can't remember what.
Eric Young, maybe.
No, and it wasn't Bobby Roode, and it wasn't Matt Hardy. Even though it could have been Matt Hardy, it was somebody else, and it's just like. Was
it Eric Young?
It wasn't Eric Young.
Right.
I can't. It'll come to me.
Yeah.
We start talking. If for some reason we start talking about TNA, it might come to me. But anyway.
Yeah, so it was unfortunate. R-Truth is still being recruited by Goldust. This is just weird.
Well, it's funny because Jeremy Bowers on Monday had mentioned it, and I had said, they should call themselves the Golden Truth. And wouldn't you know it, that's what it looks like they're going with.
Yeah.
So I demand royalty from that. And let's give R-Truth credit, man. I want to look like him when I'm 50.
Yeah, he looks. Well, he's not 50. He's like 40-something.
No, I think they just said he celebrated his 50th birthday.
No, they were trolling. He's actually in reality.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like. I thought
44. He was only like mid 40s.
No, he's like 44.
Okay, yeah, I thought so, but then I saw 50, and I'm like, well, maybe I saw that a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, but he looks great for his age, regardless. I don't know why he shaved his head, the top of his head, where he looks older now. Maybe his hair's just receding. Maybe it's a combination of both. But he still looks great for his age. So yeah, God bless him.
45. So
yeah.
My mistake. I apologize.
He can move great though.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Climb a ladder like nobody's business.
Exactly. We had Chris Jericho, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns beat the Wyatt family via disqualification.
Which was a rematch from Night of Champions, I believe, wasn't it?
Actually, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
When Braun the Strowman interfered.
Yep. They are definitely trying to showcase Braun the Strowman.
Yeah, and Big Show made the save. Big Show made the save.
And the shame of it is, Big Show will be putting over Braun Strowman at Fastlane more than likely.
Hey, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'll say this though, I think Big Show is one of the more criminally misutilized wrestlers of the last 15, 20 years, in a sense that Vince McMahon wanted to make him an attraction and wanted to initially make him like Andre the Giant, and he was really pushed the exact opposite, throughout his career. And his career did turn around. At first he was hot in WWE, had his weight issues. When he linked up with Paul Heyman, that totally changed things. And then his most recent run, since 2008 when he came back, has been really good. I mean, he's had some of the best matches of his career. He's lost a lot of weight. He's been pretty entertaining for the most part. It's just when you're a guy like that, that's supposed to be super unique, and in real life is unique, but you're on TV every single week, doing the same matches over and over. I mean, not as much lately, but he had the feud with Roman Reigns that never ended, and he had the feud with the Authority that never ended in 2013. I mean, you get kind of sick of him, but when you see that segment he did on Raw with The Rock, which was kind of corny,
but that was great
with his facial expressions, and then when you see his interactions on Twitter, and I didn't even know that Big Show's actually a big fan of Destiny, the game on PS4, and he's actually kind of a gamer, and he seems really cool. And if you look at some of the stuff he's done on social media, I mean, he's met a lot of fans and seems very fan-friendly. And anytime I've seen him in non-wrestling appearances, he's always been funny, always been entertaining. I'm just thinking,
like he's geeky, but not in that not disrespectful way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, he's the type of guy to me that's like, man, like what does he do in wrestling? Like if I'm WWE, I'm trying to get this guy in movies. I'm trying to get this guy out there. Like he is one of a kind, and he's somebody to me that could raise the profile of my brand. He doesn't need to be wrestling anymore.
That movie Knucklehead is kind of like sums up what he is. He's like a big child to a degree, like a man child, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not quite that level, of course, but he is. I mean, the problem with him is he's so big that he can't be dominant 24/7 or back in his prime, but yet that's how he had to be. And
yeah, well, he can't be. He's not in his prime anymore. I mean, at this point, honestly, screw if they cut out like 75% of the bad comedy that they have on shows every week in WWE, and just had like a segment with like the Big Show. Like, I think the Big Show would be like. Remember when we were doing that stupid thing with Adam Rose, where he was doing like a horrible version of the soup? Like, imagine if just Big Show was like hosting a segment like that. How much more entertaining it would be. Like, utilize this guy's strengths. I mean, it might look wacky that he'd be on commentary, but like I think he'd be a good commentator.
It would be interesting.
I mean, something. I don't know. Just something that showcases his charisma more than him in the ring and being old and everything.
Yeah, but with that said, you don't want to see him as like the leader of the social outcasts either. Cause, he could probably do something like that with that group, but yet it would look so odd, and that's the thing. He is so unique that he's limited, unfortunately.
No, he's hilarious too. I think you could use him in more of a comedy, in more of a comedy. At this point, yeah. I mean, if you want to use him in a comedy role, why not? But yeah, and so that was SmackDown. What did you think about Raw?
I saw the ratings were up very high. Much better than what they've been. And
the highest
Rock
I think
obviously saved the show.
The highest I think since June. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Rock segment was it was cheesy. The Rock kind of was a little odd, but it was
like the Rock's greatest hits more than the Rock.
It was typical Rock. Of course, the whole going off script, as he said, with the Macho Man guy, the guys in the front row. I don't have a problem with him saying going off script, because that doesn't necessarily mean I'm scripted. It just means, hey, I was coming out here to do something else, and these guys are now part of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I don't have an issue with that. I know some people did. I mean, I was reading some reports that, nobody backstage wanted anybody to mention those guys, and The Rock did, and he can, so it's okay.
I saw more flack for him, talking about Lana and dissing her and insinuating that he had sex with her. And
I heard that could be part of, kind of a punishment for Lana.
Yeah, but I mean that I was kind of uncomfortable with because it was just like it wasn't even like funny. Like if it was at least funny, I'd be like okay. And I'm a huge Rock fan.
Funny, but yeah, I mean everybody knows.
What he was talking about
mustache
rides. When he was talking about mustache rides, like it was just I don't know. It was kind of. That was a little, the other stuff I was pretty much fine with, but I saw a lot of
every week. I think it would be an issue, but once every so often.
Yeah, like a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, it's sexist, it's homophobic, it's this, it's that, and it's disgusting." And look, if you're a female viewer and you were uncomfortable watching that, that's okay. Like you know what, I was kind of uncomfortable watching that Lana segment, honestly. But the other stuff, it was just, it's The Rock. Like you kind of know what you get with The Rock. You know what I mean? Like I think the difference between The Rock and like WWE, using some quote unquote tasteless bad comedy or whatever, is that more often than not, The Rock's pretty funny. I think he had a few more misses than hits in this promo, and I think when The Rock's on the mic and he is cutting promos, I do actually consider that comedy. Whereas when they're doing stupid stuff with like Paige and Charlotte and Reed Flair, I just consider that tasteless because that's not comedy and that's whatever. Yeah, and also, too, when I saw people kind of going off about it, it's like, have you guys ever been to, like, a stand-up comedy show? I mean, look, I'm not saying you have to find everything funny and whatever, okay? And if you find something offensive, that's fine. I'm not going to hold that against anybody. But I do think, the context is everything, too. You know what I mean? Sure. The context of The Rock cutting a promo, doing stuff from the Attitude Era, which appeals to Attitude Era fans, or at least what he thinks appeals to Attitude Era fans, is different from, somebody actually being hateful and going on a Twitter rant or something, you know what I mean, and what have you. So, and I think too, like the thing is this, the promo can be entertaining. The promo that he cut, the whole segment, right, between backstage and the ring, could be considered bad, good, cringeworthy, offensive, all at the same time. It doesn't have to be just one thing. Like when I saw people say, like, "Oh, if you like that segment, you're a homophobe and you're this or that," it's like no. Like, you know what I mean? And if you didn't like that segment, that doesn't mean that, you're a bad person or you're overly sensitive. It just, times change. And, I don't know. I mean honestly, for me, as far as, like, quote-unquote, what I would have found, like, not offensive, but what made me uncomfortable, the only thing that really made me uncomfortable was just the Lana thing. You take out that, and it was just the Rock promo, him freaking talking about llama penises and all this other crap.
I found that more offensive than the Lana stuff, honestly. Like, that doesn't bother me. It is what it is. I mean,
that's what it is. It's like when I went to a comedy show like a while ago, like for Jay Moore's Super Bowl Comedy Jam, and it's like you had a variety of different comics with a variety of different types of humor and everything. Some works, some doesn't. And I think, too, the thing is this as well, and I think now more than ever, like especially in this today's society, it's like if you are going to push the envelope and you are going to, not be politically correct or whatever, or do something that's considered edgy or might be considered offensive by people, you probably should make it funny. You know what I mean? Because if it's not funny, you're not just striking out, you're offending people, too, so...
And that's the thing, only certain people can get away with that. The Rock is one of them. I mean, I couldn't see Kofi Kingston in a backstage segment with Lana saying what he said and it working. Again, like you said, the dynamic only works with certain people.
Yeah. So. Yeah, now it doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean he should have to rely on that. I mean, the thing with the Big Show had nothing to do with his orientation or, him having sex or anything. It was just a funny segment of The Rock talking about how, he won the Royal Rumble, but he watched it back 15 years later, 16 years later, and thinks that Big Show should have won, and said that the Scorpion King director saw that Royal Rumble and decided to cast him.
He could have had The Rock's career.
Yeah, and Big Show started to cry. That was great. So yeah, I mean, I think there's valid criticism to be made that maybe Rock shouldn't have to use some of those shortcuts. But you know what? Let's
be honest here. I'm sure it wasn't his idea, and he just went along with what was. What was done. He added
with the Lana thing. Oh, plus, it's past storyline technically, so
Right. Now again, I mean, hey, the Miz at least continued his part of the storyline with the truck on Twitter.
Yeah, allegedly he destroyed the Rock's truck.
Would you be okay with a Miz Rock match at WrestleMania?
No.
I mean, I know it would be horrible, but
no,
it would be an easy match for the Rock.
No, you know what? I'd be fine with like a Miz TV.
but would you rather have The Rock and Roman Reigns corner? I mean,
well, you could technically do both, but I think that might be overexposure at that point. Because it's kind of like WrestleMania 27, where by the time like The Rock came out for the main event of WrestleMania 27, fans were kind of sick of him, which is hard to believe. But
promo at the beginning, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I don't. Honestly, I wouldn't mind. At this point, the talent, the roster's so thin, and now Sheamus could be out for a little while.
Well, I don't. Oh yeah, Sheamus going through some reportedly tendinitis. Yeah, but I don't see The Rock. But I don't see The Rock wrestling because he's got the insurance deal with the. I think he's filming the Baywatch remake.
Wait, but But that's what I'm saying though. The Miz could be considered a safe guy to go against.
Yeah, but in general though.
No, I know you want you take a step and you can blow out your knee. I understand that, but
that's not saying Miz TV is a little bit safer. And what you could do is maybe have like you could do like a Miz TV if time allows. You could do like a Miz TV segment where Miz interviews all of Rock's family members, or at least like the ones that are like kind of famous.
Yeah, but then what? Before the Roman Reigns thing?
Well, no, he could just kind of insult like some of the guys, and then what happened? And then what they could do is just have like a moment where like maybe. The Usos like super kick the Miz, and then Rikishi comes out, gives him a stink face, and then they do the little dance. Thinking,
if you're gonna do that, then why not just bring up Nia Jax at this point and let her do something to the Miz, and say, oh, it's a woman, and start bad mouthing it like that.
And then she just destroys Miz.
Beat him up. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do that, and then at least, but I mean, you'd almost have to bring her up to the main roster at that point.
Yeah, and she's not ready.
You might not have to, but. You might not have to if she's like in the crowd, sitting with the family or something. You can do that.
Right.
I don't want to see the Usos get involved, and Rikishi, okay, that would be fine, but I don't know.
No, I know what you're saying, but yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, this week in WWE was pretty eventful, pretty entertaining. I mean, for the most part, I mean, the Rock segment, whether you thought it was a hit or miss or somewhere in between, at the very least, it was compelling television, especially when the New Day came out and Big E did that. I don't know what the hell Big E was doing with his ass.
PG.
That was just like straight up twerking. That was just straight up freaking twerking, giving 0 Fs, whatsoever. He was just like, you know what? I don't care. I'm just gonna shake my ass.
Uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
I'm watching that, and I'm like, I'm a little uncomfortable watching these three guys do this, even if it's only like 10 seconds.
I think you know what though? I think that's the point.
It is the point. That's exactly the point. But still, no. Overall, Raw wasn't bad. Again, it is what it is. It's going to focus for the next 8 weeks or whatever it is on Roman Reigns and Triple H and the Authority and all that. So, you got to just take it with a grain of salt. We'll see AJ Styles, every week. And hopefully he's not overdone because, I don't want to see.
You mean overexposed?
Overexposed. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to see, the Pele kick, the Styles clap. I don't want to see the same moves over and over every week, and then on SmackDown the same thing. I think that could hurt his character. And I know we had this discussion Sunday night. It
could, but you know what, though? I mean, you look at Daniel Bryan, and granted, Daniel Bryan's style did hurt him as well.
We have to talk about that, too.
Yeah, but when Daniel Bryan was on the rise, he was wrestling every week on Raw. He was wrestling every week on SmackDown. He was, tearing it up.
Yeah.
And that's what made him really kind of, break that glass ceiling, so to speak. So yeah. I'm not worried too much about that. I think it's more... I don't know. Well, look at it this way. Anybody runs the risk of overexposure. You know what I mean? I mean, Kevin Owens does. I mean, Seth Rollins did before he got injured. Seth Rollins was definitely overexposed. I mean, the guy was cutting 20-minute promos on Raw, 20-minute promos on SmackDown, backstage segments, the matches on Raw, the matches on SmackDown, matches at house shows, then on freaking pay-per-view. I mean, it got to the point where it's like you almost forgot Seth Rollins was a great worker. Because he was just doing the same thing over and over.
Well, I agree. And it made the title just not mean anything because you see him all the time. Mm-hmm. And it was definitely an issue. And I agree. When he's losing all the time, it doesn't help. So, yeah, I agree with you on that 100%.
Yeah, and I want to send a shout-out to people that are watching us live. Subaton 1, Heather Loveless, and Jonathan Dorr, among many others. And actually, Supaton had a prediction. I predict the Fastlane match. Roman pins Dean Ambrose after the Wyatt attack Brock Lesnar.
I could see something like that happening.
I could see that happening. And you know what? I actually would find a way to get Triple H to defend the title at Fastlane. If they really want to make Fastlane mean something, it'd be nice to not have the title on ice for a couple months.
Yeah, but then you have to put that match as the main event, too, because...
Yeah,
Triple H
you know what? I actually did have an idea, and I don't think you're gonna necessarily like it. And normally, I wouldn't suggest an idea like this either, but I think it makes storyline sense. Now, you'd have to trust that Triple H would do the right thing and give a guy enough shine where he doesn't look like a complete bitch while Triple H himself gets prepared for the main event of WrestleMania, which I know is easier said than done.
Which guy is it? I'm trying to think which guy.
Okay, here's what you do. You have AJ Styles earn a title shot somehow. Say you have, like, I don't know, you can even do it in like a fluky way where like Shawn Michaels is guest GM for 1 week or something and it makes the match. Something like that. You could do something where, yeah, I mean you'd have to figure out a scenario, but whatever. I mean they randomly put Roman Reigns in the match. You could randomly do a title match at Fastlane.
I said this on Raw they should do it, and everybody gave me crap.
Well, no, you said Triple H should beat him, and I laughed at that, but I thought about it. Okay, here's what you could do. You want to get AJ Styles over as a big deal, right?
Right.
And you maybe possibly don't want to put the title on ice, right?
Right.
For a couple months. All right. Here's what you do. Triple H, AJ Styles, build up the match. I have no doubt in my mind that AJ Styles and Triple H would have, no pun intended, a phenomenal match. Do you?
No, but if you're going to do what you're going to do, why not just make it even non-title?
Well, no. Do it for the title, okay? And here's what you do. You have AJ Styles kick out of everything from under the sun. And I don't know if you'd want him to kick out of the pedigree. I don't know if Triple H would let him kick out of the pedigree. But you have AJ Styles look like $1 million, okay? Until, and I hate to do this, but I'm just making a suggestion based on something WWE might do and based on how they book, okay? You have AJ Styles look like he's gonna win the title, you have him almost win the title. Triple H kicks out, whatever. You have Triple H get a sledgehammer after the ref gets bumped or something. You have Chris Jericho run out, take the sledgehammer from Triple H, hit AJ Styles, have Triple H pin AJ Styles, have AJ Styles kick out, much to the dismay of Jericho and Triple H, have Triple H in shock, have him pick up AJ, have AJ all groggy, give him the suck it sign, Triple H hits him with the pedigree, gets the win, and if you actually had announcers that can tell a story or are allowed to tell a story, you have the announcers sell it like, oh my god, AJ was just minutes away from becoming the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and he got screwed thanks to the Authority and Chris Jericho. I can't believe this. You could even honestly do something where like Chris Jericho and Triple H have an unholy alliance, because I think it'd be kind of a cool storyline, or mini storyline, mini kind of scenario for any fan that's followed the product for a long time like you and me. You have Jericho, the symbolism of Jericho taking the sledgehammer, hitting AJ Styles, having Triple H pin him. Jericho maybe not necessarily shaking the hand of Triple H, but handing the sledgehammer back to him. And then what you could do so you can make sure that you emphasize that AJ was this close to winning the title and he's a big deal, right? You have Triple H celebrate. You have Chris Jericho smile. You do the exit, it's all about the game, and right? And then you just cut back to AJ Styles in the ring, no music playing, him looking distraught as crap.
Get the crowd clapping for him.
Yeah. And then you have the crowd just go, and you end the show with the crowd chanting AJ Styles, AJ Styles, and you just have him be like, and Michael Cole could be like, AJ Styles may not have walked out, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, but he has nothing to be ashamed of. Shame on you, Chris Jericho. Shame on you. And that could give Chris Jericho's character that's been so dry and so lame that shot in the arm it desperately needs. And what you could do on Fastlane, too, is have Jericho win the U.S. title. And now, why would Jericho challenge Kalisto for the U.S. title other than going for another title? You could do the storyline of Chris Jericho's one of the most decorated champions in WWE history. He's pretty much held every major title. And if you really think about it, he's held the world title, the unified title, the WWE title, European title, hardcore, IC, tag team, unified tag team. He's held everything. Cruiserweight, the WCW television, ECW television. The only title that's currently active that's eluded him right now is the United States Championship. So if you tell that story of this future Hall of Famer going for that title, makes sense. And then you have a ready-made storyline for WrestleMania. You have Jericho, who is United States champion, who was bitter, who was jealous that AJ Styles got this hype got this title shot. You have Jericho cut a great promo where Jericho goes, you know what, AJ, I was willing to give you a chance. You know, I was happy for your success. But it took me 2 years to get a title shot. It took me 3 years to win my first world championship in WWE. And you walk in here and you immediately get to go to the Royal Rumble. You immediately get a title shot. This is the big leagues, and you don't deserve it. And he could do, Jericho can do it in his heel, promo fashion, channeling 2008. And I think it'd be great. And I think it'd build up real heat. And, at WrestleMania, they could do a title match where it's not like just a catch-as-catch-can, tactical battle, whatever. Like, no. It's a freaking grudge match. You get to see AJ Styles' aggressive side. You get to see, and I think it'd be great. And then you have AJ Styles. Okay, he lost to Triple H, but he had a great match. He coming off of that previous impressive Royal Rumble performance. And at WrestleMania, he beats a legend like Chris Jericho again. This time in a heated matchup, in a heated feud for the United States Championship on the biggest stage. What do you think?
I think I'd rather see Kevin Owens do it, to be honest with you, than Jericho.
Think so?
I do. I don't.
Well, the reason I brought up Jericho too is because on his podcast he kind of hinted that that's not the last of him versus AJ Styles. So that's why I thought
there's been talk about it. I understand, but Moro could announce an Owens and AJ match and make it sound phenomenal. Where Michael Cole.
Well, whatever. Forget the announcing for a minute. I'm just talking about the main story.
The story. Imagine him telling that story of these two on the independent scene. He don't even have to mention independent.
True, but you know what?
Hold on, real quick. You didn't mention this on that AJ Styles match tonight. Moro did mention AJ Styles as IWGP champion in New Japan and this and that. Yeah. And that he did call matches of AJ Styles. So I thought that was interesting.
That was interesting. But I got to tell you, though, here's why I wouldn't necessarily put Owens in that match. And actually, you know what? It depends on what you do with Owens at Fastlane. Let's just say Owens doesn't have a match at Fastlane or whatnot, right? You're going to have him against AJ Styles at WrestleMania. I'm sure it would be a great match, and I'd love to see it. But you put Kevin Owens in another position to lose, and I think he's lost far too often on pay-per-view and in big matches lately.
I don't think he has to lose that match. And AJ's over no matter what. Owens could win that match.
Yeah, but you know what? Owens is going to be around. Has been around now for a year or almost a year. I think AJ's got to win. You know what I mean? If AJ's in a major match, it's one thing. It's one thing against Triple H, and you do like a run-in and you do something where it screws him. But I think in that case, when you get to WrestleMania, you got to have AJ win. You're paying this guy a whole lot of money. I'm pretty sure he's getting paid a lot more than Kevin Owens, and there's a big investment in him. I mean, he was brought right up, ditched NXT, right up to the main roster, right up to Royal Rumble, got the full, red carpet treatment, or as much red carpet treatment as they're going to give an outsider that's not their guy. You know what I mean? Got to keep his name. Like I don't think you're bringing him in to lose. I mean, again, the Triple H thing. With some interference or whatever, like that's one thing. But I think, if you did like a U.S. title match, I mean, you could have Kevin Owens win the U.S. title. Yeah. I mean, that would be fine too.
I have a scenario for AJ as well, and I don't know what you would think of it, but I think it could be perfect, actually.
What?
And you can forget, what you said could work, and I have no issue with that. How's about this? The night after WrestleMania, you have Roman Reigns as champion, because I think we all pretty much agree that's going to happen.
Yeah.
AJ could do something then, and why not at that point introduce the Bullet Club just to wipe out Roman the night after he wins the title? Then you elevate AJ up to that main event level like that with the Bullet Club.
You could do that.
And it's the night after Raw, night after Mania, which all hell breaks loose anyway. That could be your big angle. I don't think you're going to call up Balor at that moment. But you could have Balor, Anderson, Gallows.
You know what? Samoa Joe is rumored to be getting called up the night after WrestleMania, which is
I saw that too.
A pretty big deal.
So I mean, there's a lot of things they can do. Unfortunately, status quo says they're not gonna do it.
No, I think they could. I think they'll do the what is it the deal with Samoa Joe. I can see that happening.
No, but I'm saying as far as like what we're talking about with AJ at Fastlane and what I just said with the Bullet Club, it sounds good in theory, but what are you going to do with But what are you going to do with Kevin Owens at Mania? You're not going to have him go against Sami Zayn and lose to Sami Zayn.
I mean, you could. But I don't think they're going to do that.
I'd rather him lose to AJ. Although in reality, AJ and Owens and whoever else is going to be in some IC title ladder match or US title ladder match anyway. So
yeah, that's
pretty safe to say.
Yeah, I'd rather see a Money in the Bank ladder match, but they're not going to do it.
I agree 100%.
Because then you set up the number one contender and you set up things for the next year.
Yeah, no.
And it makes it seem like a much bigger deal.
Well, let's hope, what is it, in July, Money in the Bank, AJ does win that.
Yeah, or somebody like that, that's from NXT or not NXT, but, somebody that's a pretty big name or not an independence. I mean, it would be cool to have Balor win. It'd be cool to have AJ win. It'd be cool to have, if Cesaro comes back, Cesaro win.
I mean, unfortunately, the rumor is that Balor is going to be in NXT for a while as the face of NXT, so we'll see.
Well, I hope he's at least.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that sucks though. I mean, I hope he's getting compensated at least. I mean, I'm sure he's making decent money for NXT standards, and I would hope the video game money is helping him hold over.
What's going to suck? But again, if you have Gallows and Anderson showing up down in NXT, it might not suck for long.
Yeah, that's true.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, maybe they'll be part of the Balor. Actually, you know what? Maybe instead of the Bullet Club, they'll do the Balor Club. I mean, they own the trademark anyway. They have the merch. Why not?
Yeah, it could work. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, there's some potential good things on the horizon. Unfortunately, after WrestleMania, you could have John Cena do one of his miraculous comebacks early. You could that would actually be a great time to turn Cena heel. My God, have him come out the night after Raw and just take out Reigns. Oh,
well, I think what might happen is just they'll do the predictable route where Ambrose turns. But this is the thing: I don't doubt for 1 second that Ambrose can be a great heel, or at least play a great heel. But I don't know at this point if he could be a heel. If that makes any sense,
because the crowd is so behind him, and if what's he going to turn on Reigns? Everybody will cheer for him.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel kind of bad for Roman Reigns because even though he's gotten chance after chance after chance, in reality he's really not had a lot of dudes to work with that could help him go to that next level. And I really feel like it's been dragged out for so long, and now he's already going for his third world title. You mean this has been like the longest coronation of the next top guy ever, right?
Yeah, and my whole thing is, like, who cares if at WrestleMania it has to be the coronation? Like, why does that matter at this point? He's the champion. He was doing okay with it. Ratings weren't horrible. I mean, they were what they were. Who cares?
Well, it has to be a coronation in the sense that they want to put him over huge and make him the next guy, but he's already kind of been the centerpiece in reality the last 3 months.
Last year. And I mean, right, now you're going to have him at WrestleMania, probably get booed. I mean, that's not good either.
Yeah, I think it's weird because John Cena proved that even if you get booed, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of the world. But John Cena did move ratings. John Cena has moved merchandise like it's nobody's business. I mean, he's done very well for himself. And Roman Reigns is not a bad worker at all. I actually think he's farther along in the ring than Cena was at this stage of his main roster career. Yeah. And especially given the fact that Roman Reigns, you can make the argument, well, he's worked with a lot of really good guys and some great guys like Daniel Bryan. He didn't get to work with guys like Eddie Guerrero. He didn't get to work with guys like Benoit and Triple H in his well, not I don't know if Triple H is in his prime when Cena was working.
At least, so give him that.
Kurt. I mean, John Cena got to work with Kurt Angle and all these other guys, and Batista too. Whereas Roman Reigns, like he's worked with Cesaro and a few other guys, but it's not the same. Like John Cena got to work with not only great workers who helped bring him along, but great workers who were also huge superstars. Yeah. You mean that gave him credibility. And unfortunately for Roman Reigns, and frankly a lot of the guys these days, not just Roman Reigns, it's really tough to get that credibility with the fans.
Wait, the problem is Roman Reigns is going to have a few with Big E. I mean, he's like one of your top heels at this point. There's not a lot of credibility there.
And the problem is they've spent so much time building up Roman Reigns that they've killed every other heel. And John Cena's did that to an extent. But even with when John Cena was reigning supreme, I mean, he still had some decent heels. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, even like going further down, I mean, the weakest heels that John Cena worked with when he was regularly in the title picture were who? I mean, Miz, that was pretty bad. But outside of that, I mean,
Sheamus was decent.
He was okay.
Edge was great, of course.
Who?
Edge. I mean,
Edge. Yeah, Edge. I mean, CM
Randy
Punk
Orton was great at the time.
I mean, honestly, even Ryback stepped up a few years ago. Was at least a decent heel.
He had a couple of decent matches with
Cena. I mean, all things considered. So he had guys to work with. CM Mark Henry for that short program, in 2013, which actually drew a good buy rate. Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of good heels. And Roman Reigns, he's had a 70-year-old man a 46-year-old man who is a legend, but a guy that, kind of didn't do his baby faces any favors at Royal Rumble and Triple H.
I mean, he did have Bray Wyatt, but again,
yeah, but Bray's like, but that was after Bray lost. That was after Bray lost steam, though.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Right,
the
level's not there. Yeah, and that's it. And Seth Rollins, he had a little bit with.
Yeah, but he beat Seth Rollins like a drum. So even if he won the title, like, what would it have mattered at that point? I mean, actually, you know what? When he was just feuding with Seth Rollins for that one-on-one match at Survivor Series, he was getting good reactions. I thought, you know what? Crowd's ready for something new. I think it would have been cool. But when Seth Rollins went down, I think that was kind of the worst thing that ever happened to him.
Oh, yeah.
Well, one of the worst things that ever happened to him.
Everything for a loop, too. I mean,
yeah.
Odds are Triple H wouldn't be champion. Odds are the Well, think about this. Fastlane now the last 2 years has had Roman Reigns going for his WrestleMania main event match, title match.
Yeah.
So that's not good either for the Rumble, but.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen here. I think Roman Reigns, should be at least, one of the top guys for sure, but I don't think you need to sacrifice everybody else just to get over one guy. You know what I mean? Like, you need to build up everything around him, too.
Is there a chance that Lesnar somehow wins the match and Reigns and Ambrose have a Intercontinental title match at Mania?
No.
Is that a possibility?
No, I don't see that whatsoever. I think it's going to be Reigns versus Triple H unless Triple H tears another quad or something. I really think so. And I think here's the thing. If you want to really go through with this, WrestleMania main event and all this other crap, why not? Go with it. Do it, but here's the thing. They need to do more than just have Rock and Roman's corner. What they need to do is have the Rock and Roman's corner, Vince and Triple H's corner, and once and for all, if they really want to get over Roman Reigns and give him a fair shot, and I'm sure in their minds they're thinking they are giving him a fair shot, have not only the title on the line, but have that if Roman Reigns beats Triple H, that the authority's done. And this time for good.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, though. It's been done before, and you can't keep saying this time for good when we know it's not going to be for good.
Right, but if they actually were willing to do that, like if they were actually willing to do that, if they were willing to take the authority off TV, if they said, you know what, if I beat you guys, we're not seeing you around anymore. If they did that, I think that would kind of steer the crowd more towards Roman Reigns' favor. At the very least, I think it would make the shows more watchable, more different, more fresh. I know it's hard to change things after doing them since, like 98 with an authority figure and all the other stuff, but I really do think that could go a long way. At the very least, making the show entertaining, making the show seem different. And you know what? If you want an authority figure so badly, have a babyface authority figure. Have a guy like Teddy Long that occasionally appears, make some matches, and gets the hell out.
Well, let's hold on. Let's talk about that because, as you mentioned his name a couple minutes ago, Daniel Bryan, and it did come out this week that there's a rumor that WWE will never clear him. And
in the Observer, it was reported that Vince McMahon at one point outright said he won't clear him, and now they're like trying to. It seems like Daniel Bryan's trying to come up with a compromise. Court Bauer talked about it in his podcast too at MLW how like Daniel Bryan's essentially trying to get as many opinions from doctors in his favor for Dr. Maroon, the head physician of WWE, to overturn the diagnosis.
But Daniel Bryan would make a perfect authority figure.
He would be awesome. The thing is, he obviously doesn't seem like he wants to do that. He does want to wrestle. But you know what, too? This is the other thing. And while I would love to see Daniel Bryan back, Jim Ross has talked about this before, and a number of other people. Whether it's you can make the argument that Dr. Maroon doesn't have the best track record with the NFL and concussions, all that stuff. But if there is a legitimate risk out there that this could screw up Daniel Bryan's mental health, physical health, even if part of it is like we don't want to get sued or whatever. If there's enough of that risk, if he has to go through all this trouble just to get medically cleared, and WWE is willing to continue to offer him a six-figure salary, in addition to the money that his wife makes, which I'm sure she's making good money right now too. To just kind of be a goodwill ambassador and chill and get that money. I mean, why not? You know what I mean? Because I mean, if you watch Total Divas, Breeze expressed a ton of interest in having kids, and honestly, not to play family psychologist or anything, but I think the best thing for Daniel Bryan would be if Brie Bella got pregnant this year, and I think that would put everything into perspective and at that point, it's like, you know what? Like, if WWE wants to pay you to just be on the air and appear on TV once a week, and you don't have to travel as much, and you could be with your family, I mean, why not? I mean, he even wrote about it in his book how he regretted not spending as much time with his family, being on the road all the time. I know this is his passion, but he's a really talented guy. He's somebody that could give back to the business in so many ways without having to necessarily take bumps. My heart aches for him. But I just,
How do you tell a guy, though, that's been doing this for, what is he, 34? He's been doing this, 17, 18 years? I mean, how do you tell a guy it's over and just like that he has to stop? I mean...
Well, you know what Edge did? Now, granted, Edge made more money than Daniel Bryan because he was on top longer, and he did last longer.
I think that but Edge also had a neck injury which could have basically killed him one wrong move, and I know the concussions long term can have the horrible effects as well. So it's a little different, in that aspect, and everybody's different. I mean, you see these guys on TV, NFL guys, baseball, MLB, NHL, and at their retirement they're crying, and everybody's like, oh, why are they crying? It's hard to, I guess, tell a guy you can never do what you love again.
I agree. No, I agree. But I think, and Daniel Bryan's a weird case of a guy that doesn't, care too much about money as much as other dudes. And he's the type of guy that, really kind of, he just loves to wrestle. You know what I mean?
A Daniel Bryan AJ Styles match would be awesome.
It would be awesome. But I'm just worried about the guy's long-term health. I'm just worried.
Why not just let him be a part-time guy then? I mean, he doesn't, just because he comes back, he doesn't have to be a full-time guy. Let him be a part-time guy. If he gets hurt, I know if he gets hurt.
But the reality is, you know what? The reality is, while they do like him, while I'm sure he's well respected by a majority of the people in the company and everything, I just think that there's that contingent that's going to say, you know what, Vince? He's a really big star and everything, but we can never push him as a top guy. We can't trust him because he's injury prone. Blah blah blah. And instead of wrestling in main events or house show main events, he's going to be wrestling against like Erick Rowan. You know what I mean? Or wrestling against R-Truth or Fandango.
Make him a part-time.
And at that point, do you want to come back? Like really? You know what I mean? Like when he was the IC champion, he actually was starting to have a nice run. I mean, he was in some TV main events. I mean, that wasn't bad at all. I mean, at first I thought he was just going to work with a bunch of geeks, and he was for a little while. But he was doing all right for himself, and I don't even know if they'd want to give him the IC title or the US title if he did come back. I mean, yeah, I think it would be a nice compromise to do the part-time thing. Do I think WWE will do that for him? No, they should. Should they? If they're willing to clear him, yeah. Will they? That's another story.
Yeah.
But it's a sad deal. But look, if you have this opportunity in front of you to prolong your career, and look at it this way. Look at it this way. I know Jerry Lawler still gets to wrestle, and it's great for him, and the fact that he came back from a heart attack and did all this stuff, and he's living his life and everything, but he's known more by most fans the last 20, 30 years as a commentator than he has as a wrestler.
Absolutely.
And he's made some damn good money for a hell of a long time. And you can make I think he's done better work as a wrestler, obviously. He's one of the all-time greats, but, some people might argue that at least at his peak, he did some cooler stuff, some more awesome stuff than he did as a wrestler. JBL, actually, if you were looking at it, he had a really nice career. He had a really, really nice career. Not the best, but a nice career.
It was decent.
It was a good career, but he's done well for himself in commentary. I mean, he's been horrible the last couple of years, but as far as financially and being on TV every week and doing his thing and still getting to be at shows.
Business every now and again.
Yeah, he gets to make TV appearances, and he hosted a podcast, and he had the Layfield Report or whatever it was, that website he had for a long time. I mean, he's done well for himself as well without having to really take any bumps.
Some guys know how to use it, and some don't.
It's tough. I mean, it's tough. I hope Daniel Bryan finds peace at one point. And you know what? If WWE really, really doesn't want him to wrestle again, they need to just put their foot down then. Like, at that point, they need to just put their foot down and just say, you know what, dude? Like, we can't. We're sorry. That's it.
Right. Yeah. Don't keep.
Don't keep him hanging. Don't keep him whatever. Like, if you really have no intention of having him wrestle again, just tell him no, we can't. And if you're in bed with Dr. Maroon, whether you agree with his diagnosis or not, at the end of the day, that's the guy you hired. You mean you're a publicly traded company? You're going to go against your doctor?
You can't do that.
Yeah, it's tough.
It is.
It is tough, but anyway, before we go, quickly, I know you caught a little bit of TNA. I caught a little bit of it as well. Matt Hardy's the current world champion. I know, in 2016. But he's got this hilarious character, similar to the one he played in ROH, called the Iconic Matt Hardy. Yep. And he essentially just trolls people and talks about how much money he made and how many titles he's won and how hot his wife is. And it's something else. I'll say this, though. It came off better on Twitter than it did on TV.
Yeah, I mean, look, TNA, for the most part, being on Pop, hasn't been too bad. I mean, I'm interested in it a little bit more. Yeah, the Matt Hardy thing is what it is. You know, we'll see what happens next week. I guess they're gonna.
I just don't see the appeal. I just don't see the appeal in brother versus brother because it never works unless it's Owen Hart versus Bret Hart.
Well, you got to remember they didn't have the match. Mm-hmm. The match never started, and it's that time of the year again where Jeff Hardy has to get, in quotation marks, hurt so he cannot go on the
UK tour because of his legal issue in the past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. So and he has to have possible more surgery on his leg. So. So they had to do something with that, and Erick Young and Bram took him out because, TNA still wants to employ Bram, whatever. Jeff Hardy did re-sign a contract with TNA.
Yeah,
so
he did. The Wolves
TNA
did. Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards, they did. So, I mean, look, TNA's at least starting to pay guys again, giving them some guaranteed deals, which I'm happy about. I just wish they wouldn't stoop to the low of doing that stupid story with so many fallacies of like the Bullet Club and AJ Styles agreeing to a contract or signing a letter of intent or something. I mean, it's like, come on.
Well, look, the TNA, the matches were taped, back at the beginning of the year. So, the stuff with this happened over the week, last week or so. So the match-wise, I'll give them that. And the storylines are what they are, unfortunately. Velvet Sky still can't really wrestle for a damn.
At all. And Bubba Ray still wonders why he's buried on TV every week, even though he keeps begging publicly on Twitter for WWE to hire his girlfriend that cannot work after being in the business for 15 years. And I've met Velvet Sky. She's a sweetheart. Very nice young woman. But she's not a good worker.
No, there was
not at all.
I forget if it was last week or the week before with Awesome Kong and Velvet was on the outside and Kong put her, the foot to the throat. And it didn't look too good. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
There's some ROH news as well. Some big ROH news.
Yeah.
Which is they've re-signed Red Dragon and Jay Lethal. So that's awesome.
Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and Jay Lethal staying with ROH for the time being. They could be WWE bound in maybe a year or so, but at least Kyle O'Reilly. Bobby Fish is a little older now, but yeah.
Hey, he could, why not? But also, from what I read, the Sinclair Broadcasting Company purchased the tennis channel.
Yeah.
So possibly they could repackage that channel, and you could see ROH more nationally now than what you did on Comment. So
yeah, there's some exciting stuff going on. The thing with TNA that bothers me just from like a show standpoint is that I feel like, while I'm happy there's talent there that's getting an opportunity, there's something lacking. And you know what it's lacking?
Yeah.
Them being able to say, we do this better than WWE.
There's no leadership anymore. And well, actually, on TNA, when Gregory Helms came out after Tigre Uno won a triple threat match, he said, this company was built on the X Division, and that's what they got away from, and they need to get back to that because that's what made them different.
Well, they need to do something that stands out. They do nothing that. First off, there's way too much talking. I see enough talking on Raw. I see enough talking on SmackDown. I don't need to see that much talking in TNA. There's some guys that cut good promos. And you know what? If you want to do promos, that's fine. But don't open the show with a freaking long-ass promo. I don't care if it's Matt Hardy, who's pretty decent on the mic, or Jeff Hardy or whatever. I just don't want to see it. I just don't want to see it. And I think, too, that, well, I'm happy that Matt Hardy's having success, and he seems like he's cleaned up his life and everything else. And, he's got a beautiful family and everything. And, he's in the title picture. It's 2016. I realize TNA is more or less a glorified indie at this point, and you're going to make the argument for a number of years it has been.
Yep.
But if you want to go with the idea that this is its own company, okay, and that you're trying to create all these stars and everything else, here's something maybe you should do. What can you say that TNA has better than WWE right now? Nothing really, honestly.
No, at this point.
But you know, and you know what? Triple H is currently the champion, but pretty soon it's going to go to Roman Reigns. And while I personally like Roman Reigns, for whatever reason he has the rep for being not a great worker. I think he's actually a pretty good worker. I just think the total package, he lacks the total package compared to Dean Ambrose. That's just my opinion. I feel like Dean Ambrose has a more natural connection, with the audience and everything.
Oh, absolutely, yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's not it's never forced with him, and he could lose
he's
a million.
He's not blue collar guy.
Exactly. He's kind of like their guy.
Yep.
Okay. If you look at Matt Hardy, world champion, and you look at Roman Reigns, is anybody really going to say that they think Matt Hardy these days is better than Roman Reigns?
Nope.
Is Matt Hardy at this stage of his career going to have better matches than Roman Reigns?
Possibly. I would say depending. His matches with EC3 weren't bad.
No, they weren't bad at all. But are you going to be better than Roman Reigns versus Triple H or Roman Reigns versus other guys? I mean, I don't think so. So
I think the company makes him better too. You put EC3 and Matt Hardy in a match on WWE, it might look better than it would on TNA.
Right, it'll actually get a reaction, yeah.
Right, so you got to keep that in mind too.
But I think in order to kind of at least get some respect back from the hardcore fans that they used to have, why not push Davey Richards? I realize Davey Richards is in a tag team with Eddie Edwards, but Davey Richards, say what you want about him. I know the guy's burned a lot of bridges. He's kind of polarizing with his attitude and everything, or was during his time in ROH and everything and leaving. But here's a guy that was considered one of the best wrestlers in the world just a few years ago. Here's a guy that is a former Ring of Honor world champion. And maybe he did a little too much in those matches, a little bit too much at times. Maybe he didn't know when to go home, whatever. But the bottom line is Davey Richards is a hell of a worker. Eddie Edwards too. But Davey Richards is a hell of a worker. So it boggles my mind why you don't elevate Davey Richards. It boggles my mind why you don't do like a world title feud where Kurt Angle wins the world title for one last time, and instead of wrestling Bobby Lashley in his last match, he wrestles Davey Richards in a match that we've never seen before. That would be a hell of a match. Kurt Angle could put over Davey Richards, and I don't think Davey Richards is necessarily going to draw you money. At this point, I don't think really anybody in TNA is going to draw you money. I really don't, because that brand is just.
Yeah, they're not doing any U.S. house shows.
Yeah, I mean,
relying on all their international.
Yeah, you throw the quote unquote drawing out the real money out the window. But if there's something like I think could drum up interest, it's a workhorse like Davey Richards, who's very good at portraying himself as a tough guy, coming out, defending the title, and having kick-ass matches that look realistic with jiu-jitsu elements, and just essentially do what he did in ROH. Just do what he did in ROH, only in TNA. And you know what? At that point, at least you can say, you know what? Technically, our world champion is better than WWE's world champion. Now, you can't say it now because I think Triple H overall is a better worker. And, he's you can make the argument Triple H is one of the best, workers in the history of the business. But I'm just saying, like, let's say when Roman Reigns gets the title back. At least you can make the argument, trying to sell your company to hardcore fans or fans that want to give your product a chance. You could say, here you go. We have this workhorse champion who's the best technical wrestler in the business today.
Well, I wouldn't say he was the best, but EC3 definitely was better than what WWE was putting out for a lot of last year.
Yeah, I mean, the EC3 character, but,
right.
Yeah, I mean, the matches weren't anything.
Well,
some of them,
him himself as a wrestler isn't bad, right?
No. EC3's good, yeah, but, unfortunately, you get stuck with guys like Brodus Clay, this freaking tag team partner.
Who's now a babysitter, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Which reminds me also on TNA, we had the, what do they call it? Feast or Fired.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which was the worst reveal in history.
Well, for those that don't know, Feast or Fired is TNA's deal where they have like a battle royal type of thing, and then 4 guys go up to grab briefcases in corners, and 3 briefcases have like title shots or something.
Exactly. Yep.
And then one has
heavyweight and what's now the King of the Mountain, and one guy gets fired.
Yeah, King of the Mountain. The title. What's the King of the Mountain title?
Which was the Legends title that Booker T had, which then became the TV title, which then became this and that. Yeah. Well, put it this way: when you guys are in no specific order, Drew Galloway, Eli Drake, James Storm, and
Grado.
Who was the 4th guy?
Grado.
Who do you think's getting fired?
You know what? Honestly, I would have fired Eli Drake because that guy is so damn generic. And he's just such a nothing. No offense to him, but he's just such a nothing guy. He does absolutely nothing for me. Meanwhile, Grado.
Yeah, but Eli Drake's your prototypical Vince McMahon guy.
Well,
He's got the muscles. He's got the look.
And they released him. So what does that tell you about him? Right. He was there as Slate Randall in NXT.
Yeah. No, yeah.
And he got dumped. So what does that tell you about him? I mean, he's just so generic, and they're pairing him up with Jesse Goddard, who's a buddy of mine. I'm thinking, man, Jesse Goddard can do this thing on his own. He's great. He's a damn improved worker over the years.
My God, he is. Yes.
Yeah, and instead he's stuck with Eli Drake. That name is even generic. Eli Drake, really? So they fire more or less the three guys get title shots except for Grado, who gets fired. And if you're not familiar with Grado, I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw him in TNA, I wasn't impressed. I didn't see any appeal to him. And then I Googled him, YouTubed him, and watched his stuff in ICW, which is a hot promotion right now in Scotland, I believe. And he is, you can make the strong argument, the number one draw in the UK right now. You can make, at least on the independent level. I mean, I don't know if you've seen any of his stuff, but he's pretty damn great. You know, really good comedy. He's had some good matches. He's got a great connection with the crowd. He comes out to Like a Prayer from Madonna, and the crowd sings it. He's awesome. For whatever reason, he wasn't able to capture that magic in TNA, probably because TNA assumed that everybody watched the British Boot Camp show that he was on, that nobody in the States watched. But, yeah, he's a really talented guy, and he's proven he can draw a crowd. And they get rid of him, and they keep Eli Drake.
And Drew Galloway gets the world title shot, and James Storm gets the tag title. So how obvious is this? You know what I mean? Like, that's the problem. And our good buddy Sammy Olay says it. TNA is lacking logic. There's just nothing extra there, and that's what kills them.
Yeah, that is true. And I think too with the likes of Eli Drake, he's just so generic. I mean, you got all these guys that are just either generic or have been with the company for way too long. I mean, James Storm and Bobby Roode, I think they could get away with being on TV all these years just because they are really talented and they can cut good, and especially James Storm's really charismatic and can cut good promos.
They're good together.
Yeah, they're good together. The one thing with James Storm is just it's hard to go from being the guy that threw Mickie James into a train to now just being that lovable beer drinking redneck again. That to me,
he cut that quote unquote shoot promo too, where he said, "Look, what I was doing, I didn't like, and I almost quit." So.
Yeah, but the thing is, he was never really off TV because TNA taped so far in advance. He was on TV every week. That's the weird.
Even when he was on WWE for a couple of shows.
Yeah, with NXT.
So weird.
Oh,
but,
yeah, and the Eric Young character does nothing for me at this point.
Heel Eric Young, I'm not. No.
No, he does nothing for me. And if you wanted to build him up, stop having him dress up like a stupid redneck with like fluorescent pastel tights, and also have people actually sell his pile driver.
Yeah.
This guy has maybe the best looking pile driver in the business, and people kick out of it all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, they teamed them up with Bram at least, so it's kind of like two psychos. But
Bram, the domestic abuser. Yeah, wow, that's the drunk domestic abuser who, alleged domestic abuser.
Right. But it's weird that they have them as a team who are like the two kind of like off the wall mental cases, but yet you have Crazy Steve and Abyss now as a team. Like it just.
It's wacky. Look, here's my review of TNA. DVR it, skip through the crappy talking segments, skip through the awful knockout segments, and because the women's wrestling's no longer good there either. That used to be one of the better things. And just watch like the main events and stuff. Watch the Kurt Angle, Drew Galloway stuff. Watch the X Division stuff, and just that's it. That's it. Everything else just skip. You want to check out Mike Bennett, who's not really done much thus far. Go ahead. He
had a segment on the Feast or Fired, by the way. Yeah, he came into the room and did a little spiel, and that was kind of it. Yeah. He's done nothing in TV.
Yeah, just my recommendation is DVR the show, skip through the crappy parts, watch the matches, which are pretty good, and just enjoy it, which is what I did this week. And it's a hard show for me to watch live, just because again, there's so many things that I think they could do better. But if you DVR it, it's not bad. There are really talented guys there. They are having some good matches. I just think, again, it's just TNA finds a way to – it's almost like a losing team. You know what I mean? It's like the Browns. It's like they just find a way to suck in some way in spite of, doing well.
The best way to put it is TNA is the SmackDown to SmackDown. Does that make any sense?
No, they're worse. TNA's like the WWE superstars of like WWE superstars.
See, I was going to try to be. Nah, I'm going to go.
Oh, no, actually, no. Well, you know what? Actually, no.
On Ion. How about
actually, you know what? They're the WWE main event to main event because main event's actually been kind of like the workhorse show lately. I mean, Jack Swagger and Kevin Owens had a good match. And what's his name? Also had a good match.
Behind on the network there.
And who else? Rusev and Ryback had a really good match too. Although Kevin Owens claims on Twitter that he almost broke his ankle in one spot with Jack Swagger. So I don't know if he's actually injured too, because there a report on Figure 4 Online about Sheamus. It hinted that another star was injured as well, or could be injured, and hopefully that's not Kevin Owens, because that would really suck. So. Overall, I think we covered all bases.
The only thing we didn't cover was Lucha Underground.
Well, I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but I heard it was really good. The only thing that
Mysterio debuted, correct?
Did he debut?
Was that this week or next week?
It might be next week. I got to catch up. Here's the problem with Lucha Underground. I'm not suggesting anybody do this, but I may have to seek alternative means to watch it. Now, I'll probably try to watch as much as I can through the official LRA network. Maybe I'll quote-unquote visit a friend if you catch my drift. But I need to find a way to watch it because it's no longer on Unimas.
Really? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and Unimas provided more clearance for them and more viewers for them than El Rey Network, which I believe they drew, 29,000 viewers, something like that on El Rey Network, maybe a little more.
Right.
Not looking good. It's a great product. It really is. You know, the good certainly outweighs the bad, and I love Lucha Libre. The way it's presented there, and I love just the fact that they just combine the culture of Lucha Libre with the elements of filmmaking and everything else. I mean, it is such a top-notch show with top-notch talent, and you can make the strong argument. And actually, no, screw the argument. It is probably from a stylistic standpoint, format standpoint, the most innovative wrestling show since WCW Nitro debuted in '95 when it changed things up. It really is, but. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to last till season 3, man. I think they're going to have this show in the can. They're going to do their thing. They're going to try to get some clearance.
Well,
but if that deal,
ESPN,
what?
So they were on ESPN Sports Center.
They were at 1 a.m. I mean, they were. But if ESPN, I don't think ESPN's going to pick them up.
No. But I'm saying at least they
got exposure, but it did nothing for them. I mean, look, unless Robert Rodriguez or Mark Burnett can make some kind of historic deal or something with YouTube. Where YouTube they actually get money from Google to pay for their content.
Well, they do have a YouTube channel.
But I mean, actually, be a part of.
You can watch their shows.
No, but I mean, actually, be a part of YouTube Red, which is the premium service. Which I don't know if PewDiePie's producing new content for YouTube Red, which is the subscription service. But I don't know. I don't think YouTube has actually produced YouTube Red specific content. Yeah, I could be wrong.
Well, let me ask you a quick question about that YouTube Red. Now, the NBA, the developmental league, they show all their games on YouTube. Is that something that you're talking about, or no?
No, YouTube Red is a service where you could pay $9.99 a month, which is what I do. You get 1 month free, and you can watch all the videos ad-free. You could also, if you have the app on YouTube on your phone, save all your videos for offline watching. And gotcha. You can listen to them in the background as well, so it doesn't use up as much battery.
Okay.
And the cool thing is, too, is that money goes to creators like us.
Right.
So if somebody subscribes to YouTube Red, they don't want to watch ads on TSC, but they're a YouTube Red subscriber, the money goes to us and goes to whoever else they watch. So it's not the best. I would say it's the best model thus far for YouTube, but it's better than a lot of other ones. You know what I mean? It's better than a lot of other ones for creators. And in terms of fans, I mean, if you watch a lot of YouTube, it's a must-have. And if you want to support the channels you watch, it's a lot of the money does go to them. But yeah, no, with YouTube Red too, they're looking to do they have been looking to do premium content where it's essentially you get exclusive content like you would on Hulu Plus. You get specific stuff there, and yeah, I don't think they've implemented anything yet, but
you know what they should do, and I don't know the logistics involved in it, but they should somehow hook up with Netflix and do something with that.
I was gonna say
I don't know how it works, but that would be an awesome thing for them, and the publicity they would get as being the first entertainment wrestling company to go on a Netflix streaming service. I think for them would be unbelievable. And I don't know, like I said, you know more about that stuff than I do.
I think they should, but the problem is this: they did publicly petition to get on Netflix. I think after season 1.
Okay.
And they do have Mark Burnett, they do have Robert Rodriguez. But and I'm not sure what the deal is with El Rey. I mean, it could be a thing where you probably have one side of the Lucha Underground of people, right, that say, Let's keep this on El Rey. Let's build this up on El Rey. Meanwhile, there's like this delusion that El Rey, God bless the people at El Rey, but it's probably some type of delusion that this channel is going to be successful. And in today's climate, it's really hard for a startup channel to do well, especially when not a lot of people.
Not everywhere.
Yeah, it's not on. I think you have Fios.
I have Fios. It's not on Fios. It's not on Comcast.
Yeah, it's
in my area. It's Dish Network and DirecTV.
Yeah.
Which is okay, fine. I can log into my parents' DirecTV account and go back and watch it off, on demand on their on-demand service. But that's it. So or if you go on El Rey, their website, it says you can also do it through the Sling Player, which, to be honest, to promote that is kind of interesting, I think.
Yeah, and then apparently there's like a subscription service you could pay for like $9.99 if you want to watch like El Rey and some other,
right.
Lucha Underground and some other stuff. But still, that's asking for a lot for just one show essentially. Netflix would be great, but I think there is that contingent that wants to make El Rey work.
Sure.
And then I think there's that contingent that wants to get on Netflix. Also, it's easier said than done to get on Netflix. I mean, on the surface, you could say, why wouldn't a great production like Lucha Underground get on Netflix? At the same time, the landscape's changed. Because from what I understand, I read, I forgot where it was from. Maybe it was from like The Verge, one of those websites talking about Netflix. Did you know that Netflix in recent years has produced more original content at a ridiculously faster pace than HBO and Showtime combined?
I saw something to that effect.
That is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
That is crazy. I mean, I remember just a few years ago, House of Cards and Orange is the New Black are like the hot shows, and now you have a bunch of these other ones. I mean, Making a Murderer and I can't think of the other ones off the top of my head. Jessica Jones, I think, is a Netflix exclusive.
Making a Murderer. They're doing the Fuller House, which, hey, say what you want about it, it's going to be one of their most popular shows.
Yeah, exactly. With John Stamos and the Full House crew. I mean, they're spending money. So, and you also have to remember, while they are spending money, there's probably a ton of people pitching shows to Netflix now. I'm sure 3 years ago, studios are like, or production companies are like, why are we going to pitch to Netflix? Why would he pitch to Netflix when we could pitch to HBO?
With HBO back in the day,
Yeah, and now all of a sudden it's like people are going to be pitching to Netflix. That might be if you're a producer, that might be the first person you call. Somebody from Netflix. Or you're an agency, that might be the first person you call for your client. And Amazon, same thing. I mean, Amazon is doing its thing, and then in addition to Amazon, you have Hulu Plus. But Hulu Plus, that's a tricky thing because Hulu Plus is part of, I think it's a joint venture, but it's mostly owned by NBC Universal, which is in bed with WWE. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't leave a lot of options for Lucha Underground. I mean, the big thing is, again, if they got like a big deal in like Latin America, Televisa, that'd be gigantic. But if it were gonna happen, don't you think it would have happened after season 1? It hasn't.
Well, I think they should also do what ROH does, and that's have their show online, on the El Rey channel or the Lucha channel on El Rey Network, whatever you want to say.
Yeah. But still, you need to make money, and if you don't make money, you're not going to last unless you're TNA and you're crazy. But Mark Burnett and Robert Rodriguez and the other investors, I don't think they're going to be that patient. That also too, you gotta remember. A lot of these guys that signed are on 7-season deals, which sounds insane on paper. But but if Lucha Underground, God forbid, does go out of business, that opens up a lot of free agents, including Prince Puma Ricochet, who was inexplicably not signed by WWE a few years ago. You got Ricochet. I mean, there's a few guys on there, but I think Ricochet's like the main guy you'd want. But I'd sign Pentagon Jr. He's freaking awesome. I love that guy. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I'll check out El Rey. I'll check out Lucha Underground, and I'll let you guys know what I thought about season 2, episode 1. So I think that's about it. I mean, anything else on your mind, Scott?
I do have one more bit of information. We did mention it earlier, but March 4th will be the date Jim Ross debuts for New Japan for the announcing on Access TV.
Okay, so
mark your calendar for that.
And former TSC News guest Chael Sonnen is going to be a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice, which is now hosted by Arnold Schwarzenegger. So that's going to be awesome. Chael Sonnen was also a commentator for Global Force Wrestling. Some local news real quick. PWS, Pro Wrestling Syndicate, a promotion I used to cover and have a lot of friends in. They kind of are no longer around, sort of.
Really?
Yeah, Pat Buck, former WWE developmental talent. He split off from Erick Tapout, a.k.a. Erick Pleska, who was like the main promoter of PWS for a while. They were partners for a couple years. For those that don't know, or maybe I've only heard of PWS when Conan talks about Habib from the Car Wash, who's one of their champions.
Oh, gosh, yes.
They actually draw pretty damn good crowds. I don't know what they've done lately, but I know as of last year, they've always done really well. They have a really rabid fan base here in New Jersey, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because Erick Pleska technically retains the PWS name, but Pat Buck and Kurt Hawkins, because they run a school called Creator Pro, and I think their promotion is going to be called Wrestle Pro or something like that. They're running in the same arena, Rahway Rec Center, that PWS has been running in for years.
Really?
So they're essentially using PWS talent, the PWS arena, but no longer calling it PWS.
Now, what about their TV? Not to go too far into this, but what about their local TV that they had syndicated in the New York, New Jersey area?
I don't even know if it's still running, honestly. I had it DVR'd for a while, and then the DVR just stopped recording it, so I'm assuming they just stopped, paying for that channel.
Right.
I mean, who watches, stuff at 4 a.m. anyway, you know? I feel bad, hopefully it works out for all parties involved. I mean, I didn't really deal with Pat Buck too much. I mean, he was always, chill with me, but, Erick Pleska was always really nice with media, very media friendly. You get a lot of, I'll say this, you do get a lot of promoters sometimes that aren't very media friendly and don't understand the role like the media and everything, and they don't understand how it can, benefit them. And Erick, I didn't really deal with Pat much, but Erick was always, very cordial, would let us in, would let us film, would let us do all these interviews and everything. So I do appreciate that. And yeah, it would be kind of sad to see him out of the wrestling business or not promoting as much. But we'll see what happens there. Hiroshi Tanahashi, he injured his shoulder, and he could be out for a while for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And after New Japan's lost the Bullet Club and Nakamura, yeah, it's a big loss for them. Hopefully he won't work through it, because that would be a bad deal. But yeah, tough times for Hiroshi Tanahashi. And I
have one more bit, actually, real quick. We were mentioning with Davey Richards earlier, the Wolves signing the TNA deal is kind of an exclusive deal now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where basically TNA gets to dictate, if they do anything outside of TNA. Davey Richards, one of his last indie shows. Yeah. Will actually be in our area, which is more in the New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland area. For ECWA, they'll be doing their 20th annual Super 8 tournament, and Davey Richards, who won the thing in 2006, will be appearing. So one of the last chances you might get to see him, actually, not in a TNA ring. So something to think about there.
Awesome. Cool. Well, folks, we're going to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed this. This is a podcast. We're going to recap. We covered all bases here, man. This is fun.
We took care of everything.
Yeah. If you enjoyed this, please feel free to click the like button, share this with all your friends. You can also subscribe on iTunes and SoundCloud.com/TSC News. Just to let you guys know, very quickly, we have a Madden 16 simulation of the Super Bowl. Will it be accurate? We're going to find out in a couple weeks, but if you want to check that out, get our Super Bowl prediction, you might enjoy that. I also simulated a match between Cam Newton and Peyton Manning on WWE 2K16. So that was quite a bit of fun. We did an in-depth Royal Rumble recap talking about Royal Rumble from top to bottom. And I just did a review of the brand new WWE 2K16 Future Stars pack, which features Samoa Joe, Blake, Murphy, and Los Matadores. Outside of Samoa Joe,
okay, sure.
Outside of Samoa Joe, that's an interesting cast. Meanwhile, WWE 2K has not released DLC featuring the NXT women Sasha, Becky, Charlotte, and Bayley, which is preposterous, but it could change. It could change. So please check that out. We'll get on out of here. We'll be back probably sometime next week if there's any breaking news or anything. Obviously, we got you covered. Got some things cooking up. I mean, it is WrestleMania season, so we're bringing the big guns out in TSC. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Take care. Please like and share. Don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the matches.